Hey y'all, this is Levi. It's Halloween today and I decided to do a little creepy spooky deck video featuring decks that I have not shown before on my YouTube channel, and some cool books, some cute tips, because you know, in my world it's always Halloween, so yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. I'll be switching to top-down view to show you all the goodies. Alright, spooky creepy deck time. Well, I kind of want to start with a mass market one that I feel like is severely underrated, and that is the Fallen Angel Oracle cards by Nigel Suckling. They are from a company called Chico Books that are not known for their best quality decks. However, I tend to quite like them. It's a lovely 72 Oracle deck, 72 card Oracle deck about the fallen angels. And you know, even without really wanting to get into the concept of fallen angels, you see that there's still a lot of like usable keywords on the cards. So you have the fallen angel name, and then you have a keyword on the card, what that fallen angel stands for. It's a lot of pretty cool, actually amazing Photoshop work. It kind of has this vintage quality. Yeah, and you know, there is kind of an elemental system behind it. The guidebook is really great. I will show you in a minute. Yeah, this is actually a really cool Fallen Angel Oracle deck, and yeah, you can read with it straight out of the box. The colors are very vivid, which I love, but it's also something that, you know, where the guidebook really adds something, and I love that it kind of has this dark graveyard feel, and at this price, you know, like, it's definitely under $15 at least. Not really sure about that, but over here it is. At this price, you can't really go wrong, can you? So yeah, really good keywords, quite a lovely darker style, and yeah, this will forever be one of my favorites. I kind of got it on a whim. Sometimes, you know, when you're shopping out of boredom, you're kind of like, you kind of acquire decks that you don't like, but more often than not, you kind of find decks that you do like. So there's an introduction, the origins of the cards, the gender of angels, very cool bit on that, and then the elements. So we have air, water, fire, and earth. Each card in the pack is assigned to an astrological element, so that's interesting. Planets associated with each angel, so that's pretty cool. So we have all the planets here and the angels that are connected to it. There's a ton of spreads, which is really great. And then we go into the cards, and you know, like I said, the element is mentioned in the book, the planet is mentioned in the book. That information is not on the cards. So if you wanted to add that extra layer of elemental magic and planet magic, astrology, you would say, to your readings, you do have to kind of use the guidebook or make a little quick guide yourself. Then there is a little message in bold and a further message kind of right down here. So, you know, like, there's a lot to be learned from the deck. There's even a little bit on how the angels' names are spelled, because that can differ quite a lot. So yeah, really lovely vintage deck. Perfect for Halloween or Halloweeny readings, but a good one to use all year round. And I do love the vintage feel of the deck. And it's a good cheap one, because, you know, we don't always have a shit ton of money lying around to buy all these expensive indie decks, right? Another cool mass market one that nobody ever really talks about, that is pretty sweet. It's not the best, but it's cute. It's a cute little deck to have on the side. Is the Mausolea Oracle of Soul, illustrated by Jason Engel. Really good illustrations in here. Let me open the box real quick. So this is a deck that I strictly use if I want to deal with slightly darker matters, if I have slightly darker questions, but I don't really know. Like sometimes I will feel a little bit down and I don't know what's going on with me, and I will draw one card from this deck. Let me draw one right now. For example, this one, the Maestro. I'm gonna show you all the cards, don't worry. And what I do is I don't really use this card as an oracle, but on each card are 3 keywords that will kind of give me a hint where the problem that I'm facing may lie. And then for each keyword, I will pull a tarot card underneath. So I kind of use this deck not necessarily as an oracle deck, but more or less as a device for spreads. Now, all the beings in this deck are from actual mythologies. Some of them, I believe, were made up or kind of an amalgamation of other of several myths, but these are all these beings are from certain kingdoms of death from different pantheons, religions, parts of the world. I don't know them by heart now, but yeah, they're pretty cool. Most of them you will recall that if you are a little bit into different pantheons, you will recall that what they are. But yeah, I really love the art in this, and the keywords are very hard-hitting. But you know, like I said, I don't really use this as an oracle deck per se. I do use it more as a spread device if I want to ask darker questions to myself. So yeah, that's nice. I know that I'm kind of holding my hands in front of the illustrations, but this is not an in-depth flip through. This is just me showing you some cool shit. I love this one, the Leper King. So what you get per card is the title, kind of their subtitle, and then you get 3 keywords. So you could use this as an oracle deck fine, because there's a lot of info on the cards. But it is very much focused on the more negative side of things. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, I really do love all the art on here. I mean, look at how well this is illustrated. Abraham, Justice of Pandemonium. Oh, love it. So that's a pretty cool one. It's by Los Scarabeo. The cardstock is fine. There's not that many cards in there. You can get better oracle decks, honestly, but I love it for the purpose that I use it for, which is more like a mini spread machine, kind of. Let's see, do I have more? Yeah, like I want to get through all the mass market ones first, because, you know, like I said, we don't always have so much money to spare. This one is someone that most of y'all will have seen. This is by Rockpool, the Season of the Witch Oracle. Look, all the cards are falling out already. This is one where I feel like you do kind of need to use the guidebook, or you can just use the poetry that's on the front of these cards as a thing. I do love the illustrations. This used to be an indie deck, and Rockpool picked it up, and there's another one in this series now, the Yule Oracle. But the Seasons of the Witch Samhain Oracle is absolutely gorgeous, very spooky, very creepy. I love that there's poems on the cards rather than, and some prose on the cards rather than keywords, but sometimes the poems make a little less sense and you kind of are forced to grab the guidebook. So I personally wouldn't use these to read for others, but for personal use, these are fine. Yeah, so I do always kind of make a distinction. Is this a deck that I would use for others or not? I would not necessarily use this one for others, but, you know, for myself, I want to do some divination and use a guidebook. It's really great. Oh yeah, and edging. Wow. The edging is really cool. The guidebook is pretty cool. Yeah, overall, a really good release, and I love that Rockpool is picking up all these bomb.com decks, because they are basically the only publisher that is picking up these indie decks at this velocity, so that's pretty cool. Then we have the Labyrinth Tarot deck that I just got, and I adore it. There's a lot of negativity surrounding it because it's a pip deck, but I happen to love pip decks. So Labyrinth is your typical kind of creepy kids movie. I remember loving it when I was young. I was obsessed with it, actually, because it had everything that I liked. And now Thomas Heo, I think, yeah, is the illustrator, and he made all these lovely illustrations. I love his style. He also did the Del Toro Tarot, but once I knew he was also going to do a Labyrinth one, I knew that I had to wait because I wasn't going to get two decks. He has this kind of a lino cut style that I love, but that I don't really need too many decks of in that style. So I was like, I kind of want to see which one I want to get, and I was like, definitely this one. Now, if you don't know anything about the movie or you've never seen it, you'll be like, why is this the Emperor? Because it's the father and the Empress is the mother. So I've seen some reviewers online not quite getting that. There you go. This is the mom from the movie. So you do kind of need, well, you don't, but if you really want to get the nuances of why certain characters were chosen, you do have to kind of know the movie a little bit. And I love pips like this. I think they're pretty cool. Could have been a little bit more exciting maybe, but you know, like, I can read with anything. Love that he put his name in the two of feathers. It's a Marseille tradition to put your initials or your full name on a 2 card. So usually I've usually seen it on 2 of Pentacles, but sometimes it's on other 2 cards. The Demon, the Fool, which is the main protagonist from the movie. So yeah, I mean, I could show you more. Ludo. You know, I think this is one of the better licensed tarot decks that came out. Oh, adore it. It's so freaking cute. The Moon, the Wheel of Fortune with the arrows that are kind of misleading her. The Magician, of course, is David Bowie. So yeah, adore, adore, adore. And you know, a deck that looks really cool and spooky for this time of the year. And you know, it is not too spooky, not too creepy. You could definitely use this for anyone. So yeah, if you are a reader that reads for other people, and you use tarot, and you are proficient at reading with pips, I would say, whoops, look at me dropping the whole deck. I would say, if you like the movie, grab a copy. It's always good to have a cute, spooky deck somewhere that is not too expensive that you can take with you to read for others. I think I've gone through, no, I haven't gone through all the mass market ones yet. One that people keep forgetting, but which is really good, is the new edition of the Divine Circus Oracle by Alana Fairchild. I'm not the biggest Alana Fairchild fan. However, this is a deck by her that I adore. This is on that lovely new matte Blue Angel cardstock. This is what the backs look like. They changed the backs for this release. And yeah, this card has typical Alana Fairchild titles and no keywords. So you're kind of dependent on the guidebook, you'd think. But for some reason, these titles are a little bit more intuitively usable. So I love that there's a meant for you card in here. So yeah, these cards are a little bit more usable for you as a reader that reads intuitively. Rare, raw, and real. Very nice, gorgeous cardstock. This is a deck that consists of art by multiple different artists, but it goes together very well. And yeah, Lady Luck. Oh man, I just love it. I adore it. Really, really cool. This is kind of giving me an Alice in Wonderland vibe. Princess Victorious. Death shall not take him. I mean, Really gorgeous cards, really gorgeous cardstock. The art really comes to life on this new Blue Angel cardstock. And I haven't read with it for a while, and what I usually do when I haven't read with it, I will flip through the complete deck, see what cards make instant sense to me, keep the cards that don't make instant sense to me apart. This is my favorite card, by the way. And then I will, you know, kind of look those up quickly in a guidebook, and usually my first gut instinct, my intuition was right. So this is a very usable deck for readers that like to read purely intuitively. Now let's move on to the indie decks. One deck that I adore, that is very witchy, very cute, very simple, is another Oracle deck. It's the Hollow Valley Sigil Oracle by Erin Elise Borsak, and she is a great sigil maker. So there's no guidebook, there's just a how to use this deck card in here, and then you get all these sigils that she made with a little message underneath. So the message underneath is what these sigils were based off of, and you can even like redraw them if you want to manifest that into your world. I do a lot of, I was actually talking about that to Willem today. I don't do that much sigil magic anymore because I left a lot of my magic stuff at my old house. We're remodeling right now, so we're in a temporary house. But maybe tonight I am still gonna do it though. I'm not gonna show all of them to you, but I think the way she draws sigils is absolutely gorgeous. These are all hand drawn. At first, I thought they were computer generated until you look at them up close, and they are probably drawn digitally though, but they are hand drawn. They are not in any way, shape, or form tampered with. So it's a gorgeous little deck. You can pull it for a message of the day, and if it resonates, you can like trace the sigil on a piece of paper and carry it with you, or burn it, or write it down in the sand. You can do lots of magical workings with sigil magic, and I feel like this deck doesn't get enough shine in the divination community. Another deck that I'm in love with that's pretty indie is the Lost Forest Tarot. I know Kelly from The Truth and Story is crazy about it. What Kelly doesn't mention though is that it's really expensive. I think it's a little bit overpriced for what you get. However, the art is totally gorgeous. Very dark, very spooky, very apt for this time of the year. I adore it, have adored it ever since I saw it for the first time. This is the second edition, so you may see some flip throughs of this that have slightly different art. The only thing that I can't get behind on this deck is the price point. I think it's a bit intense and a bit extreme. But you know, she probably has her reasons for it. This deck was very much ethically printed in the United States. Didn't come all the way from China. So maybe that's why it's a bit more expensive. However, you know, it was a bit too much for my taste, especially considering the box it's in. It's in a very flimsy cardboard box. It doesn't come with a guidebook. It comes with a pretty basic pamphlet. However, the art is where it's at, and as you can see, it is absolutely stunning. Very, very stunning. Majors as well as minors. I mean, look at that. Look at this 5 of discs. I love it. So like I said, I'm not always gonna flip through the whole deck. Sometimes I'm just gonna, you know, I'm just here to give you some tips, some spooky tips. Spooky, spooky. Stinky, stinky. No, this deck does kind of smell weird, but I like weird cardstock smells, so yeah. Another deck that I love from a person that I love is the Goth Men, Divination in Darkness, and this is actually on Kickstarter right now, and I speak to Stephanie a lot, and I freaking adore her. This is very much about goth and new wave icons from the 80s. It has a very dark, spooky feel. Look at this 10 of Pentacles. Hello, Morticia. It is amazing. It features a lot of goth and new wave artists that I like, but my friend Martin actually went clubbing in London during that time, so he knows a lot more about that than I do. But yeah, I just adore the art in this deck. And oh, look at that. Hey, Grace Jones. I love Grace Jones. She is my diva. So this artist has a very, very good, hello Divine, has a very good, awesome style of drawing that I dig. So yeah, Boy George, I mean, hello. It's freaking amazing, and it features one of my favorite The Fool cards of all time. Because throughout the whole major arcana, you kind of follow these twins as they grow up, and I just adore this The Fool card. It also kind of gives me like mid to late 80s video game box cartridge art kind of vibe whenever I see it. So yeah, I just love it. The new edition is, I think, is a little bit of an upgrade because it comes in a different box, I feel, and it comes on from a different printer because they did have some issues, but I'm still glad that I have the original because it's freaking amazing. Another one that I kind of want to plug is one that I kind of have a love-hate relationship with. The creator is a lovely though. It's the Men plus Monsters tarot deck by Iro. And Iro is a really cool artist that creates really good queer art. Men plus Monsters, really great, really amazing. Love the art in the deck. So it's basically what it is what it is. It's a deck of men and monsters. Some of them cute, some of them creepy, some of them sexy. And yeah, it's a very homoerotic deck, which I don't mind, but there are definitely female presenting figures in here. And all of these characters are from their comics. Iro draws these comics. I love this one. Look at that one. And all the characters are from there. And for the people that don't really have a background in the comics or that want to get to know a little bit more, there's this really well-produced guidebook. Now, the reason why I said I have a love-hate relationship with this deck is because of the price point. This deck is really expensive, and when I ordered it, I thought I was going to get something on like amazing cardstock, really good quality, everything. And then I sniffed the deck, and I found out that it's printed by the same people that print mine, and I know what their prices are, and the price is a little bit unjustified. You get a velvet back with it that doesn't hold the guidebook all too well. So I really don't know how they got to the price point that it's at, but it's a little much. You know, and maybe if it's in the guidebook, I did like reading the guidebook once, but if I would have had a cheaper option for this deck without the guidebook and without maybe knowing what every character is saying or doing in the comic, I would have probably chosen that because I can read with anything. However, nevertheless, really cool little deck if you're into queerness. Speaking of queerness, my friend Jens probably did one of the best Oracle decks this year because it's really very much based on a system. The Purgatorium Hex Oracle deck. It's based on a certain older tarot system and the 7 stages of grief. And there's a lot of like astrology involved as well. I haven't really delved into it that much yet. Jens is a lovely fellow queer creator. And this deck really has that vintage vibe to it. It is very interesting. The cards make you think a lot about things, so that's pretty great. The cards make you think a lot. So whenever I pull a card from this, I'm like, how does this play a role into my life? And then I will check the guidebook. But yeah, this is definitely a deck that deals with the darker stuff in life. As you can see, you can probably see some of the keywords that are on here. It's absolutely amazing though, I love it. You know, and there are some, all these words are themes that are kind of hard-hitting, that, you know, make me think, and I really like it when a deck makes me think. So, Folly, one of my faves. So yeah, I just adore it. Loyalty, look at that. Adore it. Probably one of the most interesting decks I have ever purchased. Indulgence, adore. So yeah, and of course my favorite card, Unholiness. And the guidebook's really good. 10 out of 10 would recommend. You can find them on Instagram as Mr. Freeborg Arcantum. So you can find them very easily there. This is becoming a pretty long video, but you know, sometimes, you know, I like looking at these longer videos, these collection videos. They're pretty freaking cute, and they also make me more excited to work with some of the decks that I haven't worked with for a while. One that is really new to my collection is the Energy Archaeology deck. I got this when I was in London. It was given to me by Martin. And the reason why I picked it is not because it's necessarily a darker deck or a spooky deck, but it is based on your skeleton, on your bones, and the energy that flows from those bones into the world. And this has a very, it does kind of have a creepy vibe to it, as you can see. It's a really usable deck straight out of the box. But the guidebook adds so fucking much to the reading. So, for example, if I were to pull this card, let's pick a nice one. Inspiration, right? The parietal. I would take that, I could read it as it is. So today is going to be a very inspiring day. Inspiration is headed my way, cool. But then I grabbed the guidebook and there's this whole bunch of text here. So there's a little bit of guidance right here. Then we have the properties of that bone. Then we have the anatomy of that bone, which is really interesting. Then we have the energy that comes from that bone and how that works, and some wisdom. But then we get something really cool. We get 3 cards that we can use for, or 3 cards, 3 questions that we can use for journaling. Or you could use these 3 questions as kind of another spread machine and add maybe 3 tarot cards on top, or maybe even 3 other cards from this deck, and then keep going and going to create this massive spread, or just 3 cards from another deck. So it is pretty cool. I do adore it, really love it. Really well made. Wisdom for teeth, so a lot of it makes sense. Receiving, power, grace, pride. So this is my favorite card. Oh, holy God. It's such a good deck, so well thought out. And I never would have bought this for myself, but then someone did a reading with it for me and it completely blew me away because it was that well constructed. And this box is everything. So really cool, really amazing. Do I have anything else? Yes, my favorite deck for Halloween, the Sabbath Tarot. Now, this is another really expensive one, although there is a more affordable travel edition out right now. So if you're into this kind of thing, I would say go get it because it is absolutely lush. This is a deck created by and for male witches, and it kind of has a queer feel to it. It's absolutely stunning. Stunning tarot deck. This is my quintessential tarot deck. This is one that I'm going to take with me into my grave whenever I die, because the depictions of the cards are absolutely perfect to me. Look at this Queen of Cups. Look at her. She's behind that veil, peeking into what even is that? Into this, not even a bowl, but a plate almost filled with water, and she's conjuring it up. Amazing. And this is not a strictly male-only Oracle tarot deck. There's definitely women in here, but the focus seems to be a little bit more on the male. A lot of critique from people for it being too body beautiful and not inclusive enough, too vulgar. I don't think it's vulgar at all. I think it's a very classy depiction of nudity. Just like we see in so many other female-centric decks, where we don't really hear those complaints a lot. There's just something about the way these men and women were photographed. Look at that High Priestess, amazing. I fell in love with it. It did cost me too much, honestly. I get that it's a collector's edition thing. It was really pricey, but it's one of my faves, honestly. So, yeah, that's about it. Yeah, those were all my creepy, spooky Halloween decks. Now, for some fun books for you to read during this creepy these creepy days. This is a lovely little grimoire, The Long Hidden Friend by Troy Books. You can also get it as The Long Lost Friend, which is a faulty translation from German. This is the most authentic version that you will come across. This is a book by Troy Books, and it's an American folk magic guide that's really interesting to read, very fun to read. It's a really cute little book, and it also serves as a talisman. This is the pocket version, so yeah, love that. Another book that I would highly recommend is Paperbacks from Hell. This is so big that it doesn't even fit on the screen, and I'm not going to move my camera, but this is basically an anthology of horror fiction throughout the 70s and 80s. With all the campy book covers in it, and it's just amazing. Written by Grady Hendrix, one of my favorite authors. For some more cool earthy witchcraft, this book, Backwoods Witchcraft by Jake Richards, is my favorite book on witchcraft I have ever read. It's really good. He deserves all the clout that he can get, because this is the most fun witchcraft read ever. And I love folk magic. What's really interesting is conjuring folk magic from Appalachia. Really interesting to see how much European influences there are in their folk magic. So that's really cool. And then on a lighter note, for some cool fiction, I got this cute little Fear Street bundle. You know, I loved reading Fear Street when I was younger, and this features 2 books, The New Girl, Surprise Party, The Overnight, and Missing. And it's overall just really, really cool and fun and really interesting to read. Watch the Fear Street films on Netflix. I'd say yes to that. I'm definitely going to be watching those again next year for Halloween, because they are that good. So, that was all. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye.